Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to tackle a topic that might seem a bit tricky, but trust me, it's a total game changer for your math scores: quadratic equations. We're going to break it all down, from zero to hero, so you can solve any problem with confidence. And seriously, I'm not kidding about this. If you can really get a handle on this one topic, a huge chunk of your math stress will just disappear. It's that important, for real. So, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the absolute basics, then figure out how to spot a quadratic equation. We'll see where they pop up in real life, tackle the super important skill of turning words into equations, and finally, I'll give you some killer tips and tell you about the common traps to ace your exams. Ready? Let's do this. All right, let's get right into it. First things first, what exactly is a quadratic equation? Ye hota kya hai? What does it even look like? Okay, so this right here is the heart of it all. This is the standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Think of it like a blueprint. Every quadratic equation can be written in this form. You've got your x squared part, your x part, and a number. Simple as that. Now here is the one rule you absolutely cannot forget. It's the golden rule. The value a, that's the number in front of x squared, can never be 0. And why is that? Well, if a becomes 0, that whole x squared term just vanishes, and poof, it's not a quadratic equation anymore. Game over. So really, it all just boils down to one simple thing: the degree. The degree is just the highest power of x. If the highest power is 2, then yes, it's a quadratic equation. If the highest power is anything else, like 3 or 4 or even 1, then nope, it's not. Basically, just make x square ho our degree 2 ho, well, quadratic equation hey. It's that simple. Okay, so we know what they look like in their perfect standard form. But what happens when they come all jumbled up? How do you figure it out then? Well, for that, we have the simplification test. It's a really easy 3-step process. First, you simplify everything. Open up any brackets. Second, you shove all the terms over to one side of the equation, so the other side is just 0. And finally, you look at your clean, simplified equation and check what's the highest power. Now, for a very important exam tip. Looks can be deceiving. You might see an equation like this one, with an x cubed in it, and immediately think, nope, not quadratic. But hold on a second. Look what happens when you simplify it. The x cubed terms on both sides actually cancel each other out, and what you're left with is a hidden quadratic equation. And believe it or not, it works the other way around too. This one looks quadratic, right? It's got x's multiplying each other. But once you expand the brackets and simplify, you'll find that the x squared terms cancel out, leaving you with a simple linear equation. So the big lesson here is always, always simplify before you decide. So you might be sitting there thinking, okay, this is fine for math class, but am I ever gonna actually use this? And that's a fair question. The answer is yes. You'd be surprised how often quadratic equations show up in the real world. I mean, think about it. The path a rocket takes when it's launched, that beautiful arc is a parabola, and it's described by a quadratic equation. The shape of a satellite dish that brings you TV, that's quadratic. Even something as simple as throwing a ball to your friend. Yep, you just created a real-life quadratic equation. Now we come to what is probably the most important skill for your exams. This is the big one, guys. Taking a story, a word problem, and translating it into a neat and tidy quadratic equation. This is where the real marks are. Okay, let's practice with our first problem. We've got Sridhar and Rajender. Together, they have 45 marbles. Now, they both lose 5 marbles each. After that, if you multiply the number of marbles they each have, you get 124. Our job is to turn the story into an equation. So let's break it down. Let's just say Sridhar has x marbles. If the total is 45, then Rajender must have 45 minus x, right? Okay, now they both lose 5. So Sridhar has x minus 5, and Rajender has 45 minus 5, which is 40 minus x. The problem says their product is 124. So we just multiply them, and now we just have to expand and simplify. And voila! After you do all the simplification, this is what you get. X squared minus 45x plus 324 equals 0. See that? It's in that perfect standard form. We did it. Ready for one more? Let's try a geometry problem this time. We have a right-angled triangle
We know the hypotenuse is 25 centimeters, and the difference between the other two sides is 5 centimeters. Let's form the equation.
Now, whenever you see the words right-angled triangle in a math problem, your brain should immediately scream Pythagoras theorem. Exactly. So, let's call the smaller side x. The other side is 5 centimeters bigger, so that's x plus 5. Now we just plug those into the theorem, expand everything, and simplify it down. After all the simplifying, we land on our final answer. X squared plus 5x minus 300 equals 0. See, once you know the key, which was Pythagoras here, you can solve any problem like this. All right, now for the part you've all been waiting for, how to actually get those marks and ace your exams. Let's talk about the common traps students fall into and the top tips to make sure you don't. Okay, listen up. These are the classic mistakes that cost people marks. First, not simplifying the equation all the way. Second, making silly calculation errors when opening up the brackets. And third, and this is a big one, checking the degree before the equation is in standard form. Please don't make these mistakes. And here's what you should do. Your checklist for success. 1. Always write your final answer in that perfect standard form. 2. Show your steps clearly. Let the examiner see your thinking. And 3. Before you move on, do a quick double check. Is the degree of my final equation really 2? Nail these 3 things and you'll be golden.
So, to wrap it all up, let's remember the most important thing. If you can learn how to build the equation from the word problem, the rest is just so much easier. Equation banana सीख लिया, तो quadratic easy हो जाएगा. Keep practicing this skill and you'll be an absolute hero at Quadratic Equations. You've got this.